Happy Monday. Excuse me. Happy Monday, everybody. We are starting week 6, I do believe. And as usual, I come to you humbly on a Monday morning to go through what's going on this week. I see that everybody has turned in the PowerPoint for last week, so that's awesome. I will take a look at those sometime early this week. If there's anything major, I will let you know, but feel free to go ahead and proceed to record the video. A couple of folks, not just in your class, but of course in all classes here in Central Florida, are a little bit concerned about what may or may not happen this week to electricity and internet and all those fun things. Honestly, right now, it doesn't look like it's going to be, I don't want to say it out loud. Anyway, if something happens and we have to push things back, then we'll do it. I'm not overly concerned about it. But it's a great opportunity if you have the time to go ahead and do the video early in the week and get it out of the way. The sooner we get those, the better, simply because I want you guys to also be able to view the videos of the other groups so that you have some knowledge of all 3 of the Sophocles plays. So, you know, there's no rush on it. It's still not due until next Sunday. But if you, as soon as you get it done, go ahead and give it to me. And that way I can distribute them to everybody. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at where we are and where we're going and all those fun things. This week, in terms of what we're working on, of course, the video for the presentations. But then you're also starting to read A Midsummer Night's Dream. Now, you may or may not finish it this week. You don't have to finish it this week. That's why it says begin reading it. But you do want to get a good start on it because the discussion board this week is about Shakespeare. And we'll take a look at that in a minute. Your paper that's related to Shakespeare is not due until the end of week 7. So we'll talk a lot more about that paper next week. I don't want to muddy up the waters too much with that, simply because you guys are still working on your Sophocles stuff and we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. So let's go to the modules and talk about the supporting materials. Remember, everything has been there for a while. Where did we go? There we are. Because we're still in the ancient roots section. So there's no new module 2 learning materials page, but just as a reminder of the things that will support you as you are thinking about Shakespeare. Remember that in the ancient roots section in the LibGuide, you have all of the stuff that you will need. And technically, by the way, Shakespeare is not ancient, but I just like that title for this module. And Sophocles definitely is, and Plato definitely are ancient. So we tend to think of Shakespeare as also being kind of ancient because of the tricky language. But in reality, Shakespeare is writing in what we consider to be modern English. It is sometimes challenging. So I would invite you, obviously, to take a look at the video versions. We've talked about that before. And of course, there are supporting articles for the critical analysis that you can use, not only to help you understand the play, but also, of course, these are potential sources for the paper that's due at the end of week 7. So we'll talk a little bit more about those next week, because we don't really necessarily need them to complete the discussion board this week, but they're there and they're ready for you to be using as you need to. I would also mention a couple of cool websites that help with breaking down literature into its parts, most of which you've probably heard of before. The one that I find the most engaging and the most trustworthy is SparkNotes, sparknotes.com. And I know that they cover all of Shakespeare's plays. So sometimes it helps just to take a look at who are the characters, what is the basic storyline before you launch into, or as you are reading, the fully Shakespearean languaged version of the play that we're going to be talking about. In general, the language of the comedies is in some ways more tricky because there's a lot of jokes, and a lot of the jokes are written in that language that we don't necessarily understand, or their context is so old for modern readers that those are kind of tricky. But that's why I find it very helpful, and students typically find it very helpful to view the play in performance or a film version of the play, because it does help navigate those language components. So don't forget, of course, that those things are available. And then you've got this week, you've got two things due, of course, the video for the presentation. And then in order to submit that, I'm going to go ahead and click on here. In order to submit that, again, it's just only one person has to turn it in. I have really stressed that doing it, uploading it to YouTube and saving it as unlisted, if you don't want to save it as public, is the absolute best way to get the video not only to me, but also to your fellow classmates. So when I share out the videos for all three groups, having it as a link on YouTube just saves so much trouble. So if you want other alternatives, let me know. But that is the best way to do it. When you have that done, you don't need to upload the file. You only need to go ahead and click on website URL and then put your YouTube link in there. Now, I have left this file upload available. So if you did want to try to do it that way, you certainly can. But please, 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 I beg you to do it via YouTube. It just is so much easier. So you'll put the URL in and click submit assignment. And that's really all there is to submitting it. What other things can I tell you that will help you with this week? I did also want to go over the discussion board. Yeah, let's do that. And then we'll talk about, I'll do a quick preview of the paper. So if you're thinking ahead, you will be able to get started on that. So with Shakespeare, on one hand, Midsummer Night's Dream is a comedy about love and magic. On the other, though, there's a story about a ruler, Theseus, who is taking a wife he won in a war, which is a little problematic, who takes charge of his citizens and their love lives. So that's problematic in terms of, obviously, modern American thought and of what we consider freedom to love who we love and all those things. We also have a fairy king and queen who dilly-dally in the affairs of humans. And then finally, we have the group of bumbling working class folk who are there to provide amusement for the rich and famous. So explore, excuse me, any aspect of the play in what it says, in terms of what it says about one of the following. You don't have to cover all three, but you can cover more than one if you want. Government interference in the life of its citizens, which of course plays into our co-topic with Mr. Norton's class. Rulers who use others for their amusement or gain. And of course, finally, the social classes and their roles in society. So include some direct quotes, include some specifics. You do not have to do any additional research, but you certainly can, if you want to, just make sure you cite anything that you use. Okay, so this should be a fairly short essay length thing. It does not have to be massive. It's the same as all the other discussions in terms of points. But do develop it a little bit. Give me some details, some things to think about, as well, of course, as your fellow classmates. So that's what's going on with that. And then, like I said, I will go ahead and quickly go over the paper assignment, but we'll go more in depth on it next week. So your job in this particular paper is to research the interplay of drama and society. Now, Shakespeare will likely be one of the playwrights that you cover, but I want you to find at least two other authors whose plays offer social commentary and criticism. They can be from any culture and any period of history. It's unlikely, of course, that you're going to read additional major dramas in depth, but you should cite all three plays, provide some direct quotations for each of those, and include secondary and tertiary sources as well, or reference sources. So it's going to be MLA, just like the others. It's going to be 4 pages, the essay, not including the works cited, of course. You need to have at least 3. Well, you don't need more than 3. You need 3. 3 primary sources that are all plays. Now, in the modern theater, that could be musicals. One of the most popular, of course, in recent history, Hamilton, is definitely about the interplay of government and society and plays. So you can use musicals as well. All of your secondary sources, of course, should be from the library. And then any research source, reference sources could be from anywhere. I still wouldn't use Wikipedia in this paper unless there's something in there that's just like super duper important and says what you need it to say. So you could potentially, but be careful about that. I've also got several links here that will help you in terms of talking about plays that also cross with politics. So take a look at those for some inspiration. And like I said, we'll go over this in more depth next week because it's not due until the end of week 7. But I wanted those of you who want to start thinking about that to maybe get a tiny bit of a head start, especially, if we're stuck in the house with nothing to do, but the internet's working. We can take some time to do that. All right, everybody, I hope you have a great week. And if you need anything, please reach out. Let me know what's going on. If there is a hurricane issue, we kind of will rely on the school to tell us, hey, it's out of session. But I mean, we still got to finish the work for this week. So, get ahead of it as much as you can. And that way we don't have to worry too much about it. So I hope everybody has a great week. Stay safe, and I will see you next Monday.